What's up, guys? Today I'm going to talk with you about where to start with reading Stephen King books. Make sure you stick around till the end of the video and you will know everything that you need to know about where you personally should start. The first thing worth mentioning is that King writes in a variety of genres. It's just a common misconception that he only writes 1,000 plus page horror books. He writes detective mysteries, romance, sci-fi, epic fantasy, drama, young adult, nonfiction, short story collections, etc. So there's a lot to love with King, even if you don't enjoy reading horror. Of course, if you do enjoy horror, there's a lot to love as well. The second thing worth mentioning is that King has done something to an extent that perhaps no other author has done. He's created one big literary multiverse where there is a lot of influence, overlap, and crossover between his various books. There are plenty of recurring characters in the Stephen King multiverse, and just about everything comes back around to his epic fantasy series, The Dark Tower. When it comes to the Stephen King multiverse, I'll give you an example of character crossover. Randall Flagg was introduced in Stephen King's most popular novel, The Stand. Flagg is also in The Eyes of the Dragon, which is a young adult book and an Arthurian-type tale. He's the evil Merlin in this one. Flagg is also an antagonist in the Dark Tower series. He's the very first character mentioned in the very first book of the series, the Gunslinger. He's also in Gwendy's Button Box, so you can see how Randall Flagg gets around in the Stephen King realm, and he's not the only character like this. It is, generally speaking, a good idea to read Stephen King's works in order of publication. The reason for this is that because there's so much interconnectedness within his books, you can see everything fall into place if you read them in the order that he published them. You can start with Carrie, then move on to Salem's Lot, and then The Shining, and so on and so forth. That would be ideal, and you won't miss anything if you do it that way. Now, I know that not everyone wants to read every Stephen King book in order. Perhaps you're just looking for one book to give him a try and see what you think of him. There are 8 books that I recommend if this is you, and you don't have to commit to reading anything else if you choose one of these ones. Number 1, a horror novel, Duma Key. This one is a great spooky read about some supernatural activity happening on the fictional Floridian key of Duma. Number 2, a suspense novel, Under the Dome. This one is a big book, and it's all about the crazy stuff that happens in a town when it's cut off from the rest of the world by an invisible, impenetrable dome. If you want to give King a try and you want something smaller, there are 2 books that I would recommend. Number 3, a collection of short stories, Everything's Eventual. This is my favorite collection of shorts by King, and it will give you a feel for his writing. One of my favorite short stories of all time is in this one, The Man in the Black Suit. Number 4, a collection of 4 novellas, 4 Past Midnight. This is a great collection, some of the best writing that I have encountered by King, and it includes Secret Window, Secret Garden, The Langoliers, The Library Policeman, and The Sundog. Number 5, a dark romance, Lisey's Story. This one is about a woman who is a widow, and she comes to find out that her deceased husband had some really unusual stuff going on that she had been unaware of. Number 6, a science fiction and alternative history novel, 11/22/63. This one is about a man who travels back in time in an attempt to prevent the John F. Kennedy assassination. Very imaginative piece and one of the most beloved novels among Stephen King readers. Number 7, a detective mystery, Mr. Mercedes. This one is about a lunatic killer and a retired detective who tries to catch him. And number 8, a recommendation for our nonfiction lovers, On Writing. This one is part memoir, part instructional on writing, and many people have enjoyed this even if they weren't writers. If you like storytelling, you just might like On Writing. Now, I have to mention the Dark Tower series. If you are up for an epic fantasy series, I highly recommend that you start with it. It all starts with The Gunslinger, which is a shorter novel and doesn't require a huge devotion. If you choose to start with the Dark Tower series, it can be really interesting because you can see how Stephen King's other books play into it if you choose to read those ones afterward. King works such as Insomnia, Black House, and Hearts in Atlantis this are all about the tower. It, The Stand, The Eyes of the Dragon, Everything's Eventual, From a Buick 8, and many others play a role with the Dark Tower series, and that makes it even more fun. There you have it, guys. I hope that I cleared things up a bit and helped you to see how Stephen King has a big web of content going on. You can start with Carrie. You can start with one of the other books that I recommended. You can start with the Tower series, or you can start somewhere else. It's all up to you. Well, guys, I've got to get back to reading my book. A children's book by Beryl Evans, also known as Stephen King, Charlie the Choo Choo. Didn't I tell you he writes in a variety of genres? I wish you all long days and pleasant nights, my friends.